Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk a bunch of animated shows and movies here with new podcasts every other Wednesday. Find everything about us at overlyanimated.com. I'm your host, Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by April Collins.
Hi there.
And Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
We are back talking The Owl House on this week's podcast, getting into everything from Season 2 that we know about. Season 2 theories is what we're calling this, but we're basically going to go over everything we know that from the show and from some outside information that will probably be a part of Season 2 of The Owl House. And then we're going to weave some theories to go over as to what might be happening, more focused on like the lore, some plot points that are going on, so some interesting things, as the Owl House has only the beginnings, I think, of what's going to be a much deeper lore. So it should be fun to speculate on. As mentioned, find everything at overlyanimated.com. Find our past Owl House podcasts. Last time we talked about Lumity, and now this is the not Lumity, everything else podcast. So
the everything else podcast.
That's how it works. Yeah. And Fandom, 50% Lumity, probably more than that, 50% other things about the Owl House. So we're going to cover, there's more character topics, I think, that we can talk about in the future. But this time is like what interesting lore things could be happening in season 2 as we look forward to season 2 of the Owl House. Now has not yet been announced. You know, I'd say probably going to be sometime from like March to June. It's a pretty broad range, but yeah, we're going to eventually get there this year as we get to season 2. Only other thing I want to mention is if you're enjoying podcasts, make sure to leave feedback for me somewhere. There's a bunch of places you can leave feedback. Find all of them on the website. If you're commenting on YouTube or anywhere else, leave an iTunes review. Would very much appreciate the feedback to know what you guys are enjoying as we're doing some different sorts of topics here, and also just that you're liking what we're talking about. But let's get into the season 2 theories. I have this question here to start things off, which is what's non-Lumity part? We have some things listed on the outline here we're going to go over. What non-Lumity thing are you most excited to see addressed in season 2? Could be something listed here, or could be more of like a vague thing. April, what do you think? What's getting you most excited for season 2?
I'm excited for the Eda curse, like how we're gonna sort of go about that. I think it's gonna be really exciting. Just also, I love Eda.
Yes, there's Eda things in general.
Yeah, well, and like because Lilith like took some of the pain or whatever, so what exactly does that entail? Like they sort of really left that like up in the air because it like decursified Eda, and now she can't do magic. But like, what effects did it have on Lilith? So like, there's a lot to explore with that little topic.
Nice. Yeah, that's a big thing. We'll see if the curse is still a plot point or if it's the effects that we see at the season 1 finale of the curse of them having lost the ability to do magic. At the very least, Eda, potentially also Lilith. Yeah, that's definitely something we're going to talk about here. Michelle, how about you? What are you most excited for?
Honestly, I'm most excited about that too, but not so much. Like, I mean, I am really excited about Eda and Lilith's relationship having to be in a different place and being in a really good place for Lilith to potentially get back into Eda's good graces. And to kind of see if they can make amends, or at least if not by the end of the season, to start taking some of those steps. But like for me, it's more in terms of, okay, if neither of them potentially can do magic intrinsically anymore and they have to relearn it from Luz, then I feel like that's going to set us up into a really nice, like, this is a part of, like, my whole thing where I'm like, oh, we're going to dismantle, like, Belos's hierarchy structure, and maybe the way they're going to do that is through, you know, figuring out how to do magic a different way, and, you know, maybe, like, contacting some of the other wild witches, quote-unquote, and forming, like, a band of, like, alternative citizens. And to me, that's just very, very exciting because the idea of like destroying a hierarchy system is so it's just, I don't know. I don't feel like we see that a lot, but it's really exciting that this could potentially be a big part of the show moving forward. So in terms of like plot stuff, I'm really excited about the direction that could take. And if Eda and Lilith end up being kind of the main people in charge of steering that, whereas Luz could, have her own stuff going on, I think that could be really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. The preview of a potentially larger view of the season that seems like you might have here. So we're going to get into that. I like tying the Eda Lilith stuff to that, potential going against the Emperor thing. I think a lot of the stuff's probably ends up tying together in the season. So I like that mindset here. I'll say in terms of most excited, trying to not give Lumity or Amity stuff as an answer. I'll say it's hard
Gosh
for
darn
me.
it.
I think everything with the portal a little bit vague here, but just Luz being cut off from the human world, and that relates to Belos building the portal. But just like what's that going to mean character wise, I think is really interesting. There's a lot of we have a few different bullet points here that are kind of related to generally the connection between the human world and their witch realm. So I think that's really interesting. I'm also just interested in theories on how those are tied together. So I guess we can start here, although we're going to boost the Eda Lilith stuff up since you guys are excited for that. But I do want to start with the portal Belos is building, because that's how we end season 1. Belos is building a portal by the Day of Unity. We don't know what much other detail, much other than that, I think, about what's we're headed. But this is kind of the hook into season 2. Belos is building this portal because the one that Eda had is destroyed by Luz, right?
Yeah.
So right now, no connection, but Belos is building it. So I think it's interesting, like, why is he building the portal? Just in terms of, like, season 2, like, when will this be finished by? We have a day that we're given, so is the Day of Unity.
But we don't know when that day is.
We don't know.
So it's like approaching.
Yeah, so is that the season 2 finale? I think that's a big possibility. Is it the mid-season finale? I think that'd be great if we, are going even faster.
Blow right past it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I think both could be interesting. Just having a season set up, structured, knowing that we're going to this big climactic event, or like approaching that event earlier, and then who knows what's happening. That would be pretty exciting too. But for me, what's exciting about Belos building the portal is like, why is he doing this? What is his plan?
What's his deal? What's your deal?
In general,
Belos?
what is his deal? Yeah.
About like the other titans, like he's always talking about the Titan, and so I wonder if like maybe he's not trying to necessarily get to the human world, but maybe he's trying to like get a new Titan because maybe like magic is running out or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think a lot of theories people are having are involving the Titan, and we don't know a lot of details about what their society is on the dead Titan,
Bones.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
More than that, though, the Titan's the one that gave them magical abilities, which kind of implies that if it wasn't for him landing in that spot, everyone affected by it, like if they were out of his orbit, they wouldn't have inherited magical properties. So, like, my theory is, like, the Titan kind of fed into all the living creatures in the area like radiation, except it was good magic radiation that made them more awesome instead of terrible normal radiation. And they've like, they've kind of mutated essentially to have like, bile sacs and stuff. But that's something that took maybe a few generations for them to really, have naturally that they could be born with. But I think that's a huge deal. Like the Titan basically bestowed them with magic, and that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, okay, so this is going to be, I think this is the main topic. This relates to a lot of stuff here. We're bringing in the Titan, Belos' motivation, sources of magic. I think this is the main thing that people are excited to theorize about, vaguely this sort of thing. But to me, this leads what Michelle was talking about is like, what's the genesis of the witches in the show? Is like, I think here's a big potential theory we can start off with. Were witches originally humans?
I was wondering about that, yeah, because like their ears are different, they got bile sacs, but besides that, there's not. I mean, they look They look
They're very
human-like.
humanoid.
Right.
Yeah.
So Michelle brought up the possibility of like maybe they're originally humans that mutated to have the capability to do magic. We know magic comes from the source of a bile sac. Pretty gross thing to show.
I love it. It's so gross, but it's like it's a part of our body, like a liver. It's like, oh, okay, I guess.
Yeah,
that
I guess we
checks out.
have gross parts of our bodies too. So I can do that, yeah. But so maybe they look like humans. I mean, other than the bile sac and the ears, do we know of any differences really? I mean, so they could have just been humans that over time or pretty quickly because of the Titans' magic. Is it because they're located there?
I think it's because they're located there. I think it maybe
Yeah.
affected different creatures different ways. Because you do have like straight up monster looking things in the town, but I think like it affected them all to an extent. And anything outside of its orbit probably isn't magic, which is kind of crazy. Like something that's like 25 miles away, maybe like the creatures look totally different because the Titan didn't land there.
This is really exciting to me because
Yeah.
every show, I always want, my big theory is the magic people were humans. Like, that's always my theory. Like, Steven Universe, the crystal gems created by humans, that was my theory. So I always, this show, it's like, this is like one of the main things that you're led to believe, I feel like, right after season 1. This is a big possibility. Like, we're starting right on the theory spot. We're right off the bat, we're addressing this. So I love it. I love if this is the direction we're going. And I do think the other possibility, other than like all the witches are humans, is, or were originally humans, was maybe just Belos is
Belos.
either he's just a human or he was a human that mutated, but the rest of the witches are a different species.
I like that because he does have like a very glowy eye. When we do see his blue eye, when Luz cracks his face mask, I mean, it felt very unnaturally glowy, but the idea that like maybe it's because he like, you know, he tried a bunch of weird experiments because he was just a human. I mean, because like it's kind of like, so if the everyone who came out of the Titan landing there got this magic radiation and then it just became organic, he wanders in and starts immediately trying to control it, and he sets up all these systems to control it and harness more power. I mean, it's hard, like, yeah, maybe some random person would just see an opportunity, but it makes extra sense if they have less to start with, that they would try more aggressively than the average witch to hold on and build an empire around it, because it's like more, it's a bigger deal to them because they didn't have it naturally, you know what I mean? So there's like a lot of logic behind him potentially not being a witch naturally, I feel.
Yeah, I think either of these possibilities, where all of the witches were originally human or Belos is a human, are potential motivations for Belos building the portal, which is why I think we're talking about it now. So, like, if Belos knows that, like, so if Belos knew that they were all human, but no one else knows that, then he might want to build the portal to go back to Earth. Because he's curious, because he wants to get back home, because he thinks that there's something they can accomplish. He claims, I think he claims in the finale to not want to conquer Earth. Like, I think he says like that's not what his motivation is. So maybe he has some sort of knowledge here that everyone else doesn't have, or maybe he himself was just a person like Luz who 50 years ago stumbled into the magic realm and figured out, maybe much like Luz, how to harness magic and conquered their world, because we know from the finale that this was only 50 years ago that Belos set up this power structure. There could be some Belos Luz parallels going on. Here's a new theory. What if Belos is future Luz who like traveled back in time?
Oh, thank God. I was afraid you're going to say, what if Belos is Luz's dad? And I was ready to get very
angry. Well, that's a legit theory. What I said I just...
Please, no, that's such a
grandpa.
What I said was just a stupid thing I just made up. But people actually do believe Belos is Luz's dad. So we'll have to talk about that at some point. But I get
What?
The thing is, Luz has a mom. We don't know of Luz's dad. So, of course, that means fans are going to speculate who's Luz's dad. Is it going to be someone that's revealed in the show? Belos, I think, is the only real contender right now. What if King is Luz's dad who got turned into a demon thing?
Oh my God.
A lot of King theories, because we don't know King's backstory, right?
Yeah.
So,
oh my God, King.
We're going to want to tie that together. April, are you buying or selling the either possibility of the witches being human or Belos himself being a human?
Oh yeah, I think those are totally like probable. I could see either one of those happening, honestly. Like, I think the idea that like all of the witches sort of evolved from like humans is kind of exciting. But I guess like why? Well, I guess because Belos showed up 50 years like ago and was like, y'all gotta do this right or something like that. But I think it could be both though too. Like maybe because they said that it was only 50 years ago that like everyone was just sort of running around and doing whatever magic that they wanted, and it wasn't only until like he established that, oh, you're using magic wrong. Like it that kind of makes sense though too. And then also like why like having a human there is such a big deal too, because he's been the only human and he doesn't want anyone else to know that they can all just do whatever magic.
Yeah, well, certainly he's controlling their magic, and I think that can play into a lot of different things. But yeah, I think both could be true. I think it could just be that witches long ago evolved from humans, but now Belos was just a human that stumbled into their world. I think that's like the most interesting, immediately applicable thing that could happen, that the direction that the show could go into. It's like, I guess other reasons why he could be building a portal. Maybe he wants to harness magic from Earth. He needs something from Earth to do something with magic. Like, does he need does he need to like get something from there in order to further his rule?
I think he's gonna try and get another Titan because like,
do we know of multiple Titans? By the way, whenever we say Titans, we're gonna obviously immediately think of Final Space.
Well, yeah, me too. But
I know it's a little confusing.
But that's also like, I guess, kind of where that theory could come from too. Like he's trying to build a portal to get to where the rest of the Titans are. Because
is this going to be a crossover with Final Space next season?
Absolutely. This would not surprise me. But also,
it wouldn't. Okay.
Anything's possible, Dylan.
Disney and Adult Swim are teaming up for the Owl House Final Space crossover. But I mean, that would because he's obviously like power hungry. Like he's the only person who's allowed to do, you know, all of the magic. So why wouldn't he want another Titan to make them even more powerful? Because that's where all of their power comes from, is the corpse of the Titan. So like one corpse of a Titan, two corpse of a Titan, even more powerful.
I really like that because as we've established before in previous podcasts, like he uses Palismans to absorb power, which means it doesn't last on him forever. But if he could access a new Titan and absorb the magic radiation firsthand, then maybe he could like grow his own bile sac and it would save him a lot of effort, you know?
Okay, let's bring in, we can bring in the Palismans too. So yeah, all of the Belos stuff. Okay. So yeah, Belos appears to be, we don't really know anything for sure with Belos, but Belos appears to be, eating Palismans. We see this happen.
Absorbing them.
Absorbing their blood juice,
Yeah, Delaney said,
life spirit.
This is Delaney said, Belos absorbing magic. He crushes Palismans and seems to absorb their life force. Is it to grow more powerful or because he lacks magic or is weakened? So
yeah.
I
think it's the second one.
It could be that Belos, if we want to tie all these together, if we're trying to big brain deduce the whole plot of the Owl House, could be that Belos was originally human and now he's absorbing the Palismans to try to maybe he just wants to grow his own bile sac, maybe he wants to be some other form of magic.
It's some like old witch was like, if you absorb the souls of these Palismans, then you will grow your own bile sac, and he's like, yes.
And it didn't work.
It hasn't worked, but he's not giving up.
He's still on board.
It's hiding him over in the meantime. It's like taking his medication, but he wants to find a cure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is a thing shows often do. He could be sick, and then the way he's not dying is by eating Palismans. It could be that he's
cursed in his own way.
Yeah, because again, if he was experimenting with ways to absorb magic after stumbling on this community that had it for generations, there's no way he's getting it then. Maybe he tried a bunch of random stuff and it kind of, because again, like, I wonder why he's so covered, like literally his outfit, you can't see any part of actual him. He's just so covered from head to toe. We have no idea really what he looks like besides that one eye reveal. And maybe it's because he looks awful. I mean, maybe he's not trying to hide being human. Maybe he looks terrible because all experiments like just blew up in his face. But now he like knows what to do. He knows he has to find a Titan or something. After all those failed experiments, he like figured out the true way to harness magic.
Yeah, he could be cursed. He could have like messed with magic too much, and that's hurt him. Or maybe he's just like old, and he's like an old.
he's
He's
old.
Well, it's 50 years ago. He's like,
and you see his wrinkles.
yeah, so he's like an old billionaire doing like blood transfusions of young people to try to like that's what I think of with the Palismans. Like it could be that, but it's probably more interesting if it's like he's cursed or hurt in some way from what he's been trying to do. Maybe all of the above, but yes, the Palismans sustaining him. That's definitely possible. I don't think we know that for sure, but that's one of the things that you're most led to believe. Maybe the Palismans just power him up. Like maybe that's why he's able to control everyone, is because he's figured out this technique to absorb their magic. I think regardless, it does seem like he's consuming them for magical purposes, but we don't have a lot of information thus far. But you know, we saw I think like episode 10, we saw like all the Palismans, and so this is like a pretty villainous thing for him to be doing to maintain power. Yeah, I mean, but back to the portal. I mean, so this is his like ultimate plan. And I think, and I going back to something Michelle said before, one of the things I think powering a lot of theories here is the fact that we learned in the finale that this was only like 50 years ago that our current power structure was established on this realm for Belos. So So I think that's like going to be a key component of a lot of these theories, which I think to a lot of us, that's like really exciting. Like, cause that's, maybe it's easier to upend him. Maybe we can get into the origins of it more.
There's just so much potential, right? Cause 50 years, like in the grand scheme of things, 50 years is pretty short, but 50 years can have a huge impact on your sense of what's normal in terms of like how your society is established. And to me, the exciting potential about this is that like the Day of Unity could either be the day where this power is solidified to the extent where it could last for 300 or so more years, or the society could be upended because it's still a little early, right? So either it's going to get way worse and more controlled after that, or it could be dismantled entirely. I feel like that's the really nice thing about that like 50-year sweet spot. It's not quite old enough that it feels like it was forever, things were this way. But if they implement really intense things that make it a lot harder to go back to the way things were before, then it kind of will be forever for the next like 3 or 4 generations plus. So that's like what's so like, yes, like I love the like we don't know, but like there's a real chance they could destroy it because it is only 50 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
like
I think that and the concept of wild witches were my favorite things introduced in the finale of the mythology. So I think those are really exciting.
Wild witches.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Let's talk about that. There's like a lot of, I want to get back to the Titan too, but yeah, like so this is something I've introduced in previous pods, but like I think just they bring up that there's like the wild witches are people who don't abide by Belos's like Coven system magic rule, where you can only do one type of magic. Wild witches could do any types of magic, right? I don't think we know for sure that there are existing other wild witches right now. I think he's like we learn he's specifically persecuting them.
I think when we saw those like stoned people with the plaques under them, and then they had like the spot where Eda was gonna go, I think they've been singling them out and eliminating them as threats for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. That's like what's presented. So maybe we can unstone people, and that's
maybe that would be awesome. There's an army right there. You unstone all those.
Right?
Yeah, maybe that is what we're doing. I was thinking that there's just people they haven't caught yet out there. And
I mean,
so
that's also a
That's also
possibility.
true.
yeah, I think they could be both. So
I mean, we don't know how big like the world really is outside of
Bonesborough, yeah, or the Bones. Are there other places in the Boiling Isles outside of Bonesborough? Are there other places outside of the Boiling Isles? I think the Boiling Isles would be what we would call their world right now, based on our understanding. But
I think it's at least the main city. There could be like pockets outside, like north and south of. Like, maybe they're in the rib cage, right? If it's a whole Titan. Maybe they're, like, in the rib cage where the city is, where they could go up to, like, the neck or like down to the leg or something.
Feel that connection.
Yeah, and see other people.
Yeah, it'd be, I think just generally venturing into other realms. Like, so I imagine in season 2 we're gonna at some point go past the Owl House into other places. I would have to expect that. I mean, if we're going the route of like there's other wild witches we could meet, then maybe we go past beyond. Maybe they go camping beyond the Owl House, or maybe we move the Owl House.
Oh my god!
Since we know
like
that
Amphibia
it can move.
season 2, I would love
Let's
that
go
because
camping.
if they did that, because like magic is such a big deal, and Belos has only been doing his system for 50 years. If they went up to like again like the neck of the Titan, and they find this old like campy lady who's like a farmer witch or something, she's like, "Yo, check this out! Like I got this crazy kind of kooky farm magic, but if you learn how to do this, like Belos has never seen this before," and he's
gonna freak out.
Yeah, so like they one like April was saying, like Eda and Lilith are in a great position to learn new kinds of magic because they lost theirs already. So if they figure out how to do different kinds of magic that the city isn't aware of, and they recruit random witches on the way, that's like a 2-for-2 deal. That's a pretty good deal to start an army.
Yeah. I mean, if we're doing a rebellion, which we can get to that next, is having other wild witches is a crucial component here. So I think that would be. I mean, that's the basis of like the rebellion like opposes Belos's constraints on magic. So these are the people that don't buy into the constraints or have freed themselves. Maybe there's people born into the wild. Is there parts of the Boiling Isles that people aren't born into the Coven system that Belos doesn't have rule over? I think those would be really interesting things to explore. Just like seeing other Eda types, like that's just one of the most exciting possibilities for me. Maybe seeing other older women witches or just older witches in general. And also just Eda, like, knowing that this is like the concept of what Eda is put things together for me a little bit. I still don't really understand why Eda like sells human merchandise, or
gotta make a living.
Yeah, she just finds it fascinating, and it's a niche that other people in town aren't interested in. So there's a market for it because she's the only one doing
but why is Eda, if there are other wild witches, like, and she's being persecuted by them, but why is she so interested? Why is this I mean, I guess it's like,
maybe she's also like, she's also the only person who's had a portal that we know of.
Why does Eda have a portal? That's another big thing I want to know about. Or did she have a
because
portal?
She's a super powerful witch, Dylan.
She's the most powerful witch we know about. That's what the show has said.
Her own sister couldn't defeat her, even in her weakened state.
That's true. That's true.
And in general, if Eda is the most powerful witch in the Boiling Isles and Belos has been seeking out all the wild witches, presumably Eda would be like top of the most wanted list. And
she has been.
And she has been. But why haven't they sent more than just Lilith and a few guys out there to try to stop her? I guess maybe there's a longer history of this that we don't know, that we haven't heard about yet.
I'm sure there is. And also you have to like, I guess like understand too is that like Lilith at this point is the head of the Coven. Mm-hmm. And so you don't just like get there overnight. You know what I mean? Like you have to work to get to those high ranks. And so it probably wasn't until they were just like, oh yeah, this is Lilith, like Eda's sister. Let's make use of that as, you know what I mean? Like,
there are probably other attempts before Lilith.
Yeah.
But yeah, I to me, like Eda, I feel like there's this kind of wacky Eda that we were originally presented with. And I would like to see this a lot tie in more into this bigger plot, wherever we're going with that. So I mean, we can get to I have like a potential like
she's
addendum
like a fun-loving lady.
Yeah, I mean, I think she can be that and also be like a rebellion warrior. I think that's probably where we're going.
I think I wonder if like she's at such a point where it's just like goofy. You know what I mean? Like at a certain point in your rebelliousness, you seem very like silly. You know what I mean?
She's been through so much stuff that
she just. Yeah. I think it could be that maybe Luz is the one that figures out how to organize this rebellion, and maybe Eda's at her disposal. Because like I do think like for Eda, it's never she like represents so much possibility for a different kind of reality for everyone, but that's not something she seems directly aware of. For her, it's always been like she wanted to have life on her own terms, and that happened to be at odds with the system at large, right? So for her, it's like a very personal, like she just wants to be herself to her full potential, and that isn't what Belos wants. So like that's her that's her personal conflict. But the fact that she is a wild witch is like a very real kind of oppositional force in general against Belos. So I don't know if Eda even has the inclination right now to start any movements, because she's always just kind of been doing this for herself. But I think Luz could be the one to step in and like see that potential Eda has and to channel that and make it into like an actual movement. She might have more reason to want that than Eda herself. And maybe that comes from Luz being kind of an outsider to the system. So she has like a fresher perspective of how it could be kind of messed up, you know, because she didn't grow up with it.
Yeah, so I think what you presented makes the most sense based on what we've seen so far from the show. So yeah, I just like Eda, like maybe she's not even aware of any other wild witches. Like she's just like what we've seen makes sense for what she's experienced that we know of.
She's really just doing her own thing, like, and I feel like again, I agree with you, Tilla, that she probably doesn't even know if there are other wild witches, or if there are, she probably just doesn't really care, because even whenever she like sort of renounced like the whole like coven system and everything like that, she literally was just like, I don't feel like fighting my sister. I don't really want to join a coven, and like tried to walk away, and that was it. Like it's not like she was just like, no, I'm not joining, the coven system because I don't believe in this. Like, she literally just had no interest in it. Like,
right. Yeah. I think, she's been cursed since like high school. Right. And like, so
yeah.
she she's been going through a lot, and she's, and had to deal with like not adhering to the norms. If what we've seen from Eda is just like her living her version of her rebellious life, I think that does make sense with what we've been presented. I want to present another possibility. I do think this is not as much with what we've seen so far from the show, but it's something that would be the most exciting to me, is what if season 2 starts and the curtain is pulled back and we know that Eda actually has been part of the rebellion all along, and she's just never told Luz about it.
I love that. Like she's like, Luz, you're ready.
Luz, you're ready to know now. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
So it's like, maybe, so far we've seen from only thing.
The cape. Maybe the cape was part of that.
That could be a thing. Yeah, the cape does seem kind of random so far. It's true.
Step one.
That's like, here's your traditional rebellion garb. Here's
By donning these colors, you now represent.
Yeah, I mean, like if we like, I love the concept of us getting into a revolution now. So to me, like the most exciting way to do that is Luz is just thrust into that now. It's like, Luz, you faced off, you freed me from the Emperor. You're ready. You're coming into this rebellion that I am a part of now with the other wild witches. And this has been kind of the thing that has been lurking behind Eda this whole time. Maybe her selling human objects is like a front for this larger rebellion.
Make her appear harmless.
Like, to me, yeah, and it's everyone knows how powerful she is.
She's just an old kook, but
right,
like,
yeah,
she's selling boxes.
No, exactly. Like people know, for whatever reason, they know that she's super powerful. But if she just appears to be a weird lady, then they're not going to bother her, and she can go with this rebellion behind the scenes. Like, to me, this is the number one thing they could do to tie a lot of stuff together with Eda and the plot and stuff. I wonder if this is something they would do. But like, because we don't have to like spend a lot of episodes going into the wild and slowly meeting people and like ramping. Like, we don't have to ramp up to anything. What if we're just like right there, like right away? Like, I think that would be really exciting.
That would be really exciting. It would, again, that means that defeating Belos might take a lot less time, and thinking about what would come after is also very exciting. Though personally, I'll say, like, I am so for those like slow episode by episode character interactions where they meet a random person and they become important to them and they come back later in some meaningful plot way. Like, I'm all about that. So if they did take a season just wandering around meeting people outside the Boiling Isles, and like slowly recruiting people and deciding what they wanted to do. Like, I'd kind of be all for that because that is my jam.
I'm sure that would be good too. Very, very Amphibia-esque.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say earlier, the portal he's building is to Amphibia, right? That would be the crossover.
Oh, okay.
The frogs would just. They would be so grossed out by all the frog people. They wouldn't want to go there. They'd be safe.
I think that's normal to them, given the inhabitants of the Boiling
I don't know.
I don't know that they would be like turned away from that.
Honestly, both these Disney shows have like a little bit of a horror vibes to them in terms of their creatures and aesthetic, and it's an interesting time. But yeah. So how likely do we think that is that there's this like Eda has something going on, even if it's not like Luz, you're ready. Like, I mean, that would be a lot. But like there's something Eda has not told Luz about. How likely is that versus what Michelle presented? Like, we know everything about what Eda's gone through, and that kind of makes sense already.
I think it's very possible because, you know, we only know so much about Eda. Like, we don't know what she did for all of that time between like her getting cursed and then upon meeting Luz. Like, she could have been doing anything, you know what I mean? Like, she could have been interacting with all these different people. She could have been traveling by herself with King. Maybe that's how she got King, because we don't even know that. Mm-hmm. So she's a mysterious woman, and there's a lot, I think, still to uncover about her. And then if she's secretly a part of a rebellion, that's great. Like, I love that. So
bonus points if there's a secret rebellion.
Rebellion, bonus points. Or there could be a secret rebellion, and maybe even like Eda doesn't know about it, and then like maybe Lilith has heard like rumors or something, but
and she's like, now that I don't like Belos, like I'm gonna tell you all the deets about
Lilith would have information.
I was like, we have Lilith, like we keep forgetting that like we have her on our side now, and that she can bring so much to the table, especially when they're like combating against Belos. So it's exciting, but I do think that like I feel like we're going to have like a slow burn until we get to Belos, and then like Belos is going to be gone in like an episode or something like that.
Two things about that. Yeah. One is like, I think it's a good counter argument, which is like, we've learned a lot about Eda so far, and we have what seems to us to be a complete picture of her, which is to the credit of what they did in season 1. But, you know, it's like, we know about the curse, we know about the relationship with Lilith. There's still like probably a few decades of her life which we haven't been accounted for yet.
There's so much, because again, like we only know the small bit that they've given to us that's only been relevant up until this point. Like, so there could be, you know, a whole nother.
What happened in the 20 whatever years between the flashbacks we saw and now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and so that didn't like having that information didn't serve us in season 1, but in season 2 it could like 100% like bring to light or help move the plot forward.
Yeah, that's my thinking. Is I'm not sure it's super likely that there's this whole setup behind the scenes, and we'll immediately go right to that like there's this huge curtain pull with Eda, but there has to be some things we don't know about yet. I think it would make more sense that there would be some things we don't know about versus we know everything at this point. Like, I think there's it makes too much sense to. We've really only seen one season, and we still haven't gotten the full picture of Eda. So I do think we're going to have some reveals to come, whether it be some like extreme backstory, extreme other elements to Eda that we don't know about yet, or some just minor things. Well, that is something.
X episodes they come back.
That Eda has mentioned, you know, past boyfriends. So
gosh, I can't wait to meet more of her ex-boyfriends.
And then King is another big element of it too. Is like we know nothing about what King is.
We literally know nothing about King except that he was supposedly a demon.
Yeah. Oh, and
he's still a demon, isn't he?
Yes. He's just an adorable demon.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a really sad backstory. Maybe he's like the last of his kind, and his dad or mom was like the ruler, and so he's like, oh yeah, one day I will be king, and now like something happened.
Or maybe he says that he's king because he knows his parents are gone.
Yeah,
he's like a prince.
He's a former prince. Oh,
exactly,
no.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, royal demon family, but like for whatever reason they're not around anymore. And he's the last one, which would be very sad. but motivation to be a real king one day, I guess.
Be a real, yeah. Well, I can come back to him. The other thing I wanted to say for what we were talking about before is this concept of Belos not being the final boss. I think that's always a question, is like, is the final boss on the table right now? Is this a thing like Avatar where we know about Ozai and Ozai's the final boss? Or is this more of a Kipo situation? Some minor spoilers for Kipo, where Scarlemane's the big bad on the board. He's not who ends up being the big bad. In the end, we have this additional season of a new threat that comes to light in the season 2. It maybe Owl House has a similar structure to Kipo. 3 seasons, probably somewhere between 3 and 5 seasons. It's going to end up being, if we're lucky. So maybe Belos is the shock is that he ends up being defeated at the end of season 2, and like what remains after, or some other threat, some like
Kikimora.
Oh man,
claims power. I mean,
yeah.
she's the biggest wild card in my opinion going into season 2. She could do anything.
There's a lot of wild cards, but Kikimora, we've seen her in the show, and we know nothing about her. She's just like the lieutenant to Belos.
Yeah.
And she's
like
really
his
cool design.
personal assistant, kind of.
Yeah, she knows a lot that she isn't saying yet, but I mean, I wouldn't want to cross her. I think she could do it.
Right. It seems like she's like the assistant, but now with Lilith off the board for him, maybe she's like the lieutenant and the assistant.
Yeah,
and she's just
he'll boost her salary now that
Is
Lilith's gone.
Is she a witch or is she a creature?
I don't know. She could be bold. That's the thing. Like, anything could go with
Yeah.
Kiki, because we just know, like, literally 2 things about her so far.
I really like Kikimora. I would love to get a lot more into her in the season. I know there's going to be a few new characters, so we'll see how much there's. She's a major character versus what we saw of her so far. But quickly on that concept, like, is Belos going to end up being the final villain, or might we do this sort of like Belos arc concludes, then we have a new arc start up next season?
But who would be like? What is a bigger threat at this moment? Besides Belos.
Yeah, I think we've seen from other shows, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bigger threat. If season 2 is the revolution against Belos, maybe one of the Wild Witches, who's like the second in command or something, is like
so like a Hunger
the different
Games
viewpoints,
situation?
and then they win, and then it's like
it could be a very political thing where like they just have a slightly different ideology that's just as bad, but they think it's for the right reasons.
That's a pretty common thing.
I'll point out She-Ra had the same thing where it's like we thought the big bad was Hordak, and then it ended up being
She-Ra
his
too,
alpha
yeah.
bro. Yeah.
Yep. I think this is one of the, and Hunger Games is probably a good point, but like a lot of modern properties go this route of like the person who ends up being you're fighting at the end is not the person you expected. So I definitely think we should always take it into consideration. For me, the big thing that this would accomplish is we don't like quote unquote drag out any story. Like, we're moving fast through whatever story we have. I think that's exciting. I'm always kind of in favor of moving quickly. But yeah, so those are some interesting Belos things. I want to also talk about the Titan more. We brought up the Titan a lot. April was talking about multiple Titans. I think that's an interesting possibility. I like that.
That could be like a big bad though, like
maybe
fighting a Titan.
Yeah.
Well, who's a bigger bad than Belos? The god.
That's
like,
true.
The Titan.
Yeah.
Like, he's the bigger
Right.
bad. I think that's definitely an option. Is that maybe Belos is reviving the Titan? Okay, so here's some theories that we got some people.
Ooh,
He's making a new Titan. I love that because it's so cursed. Like,
this is from Stephen LP on our Discord. He says Belos wishes to open a portal to Earth to obtain something that will restore his master, the Titan, to its physical form again. So Belos could try to revive this Titan. I think that's a possibility. Could try to make a new Titan, should try to call upon the Titans. Those are all things that we've seen.
Question. So if he revived that skeleton Titan, would it need to then take back all the magic it gave everyone to assume its true form? Because they got that magic when it died. They absorbed his magic when he... So, right? Like, that would be a huge Jeopardy element for everyone right now in that world, because maybe they can't both exist. Maybe everyone would lose magic, and then what are they going to do? That's kind of what they built their society around.
We're going to blow up magic.
Yeah,
Titan's gonna steal all the magic back.
Yeah, I don't think we know the answer to that. What would happen if the Titan was revived or left? But yeah, maybe
I was gonna say, what if like Belos opens like a portal to the Titan world, and then the Titans are like, we need our brother's body back, and then they take it.
It's like, yeah, we need to give him a proper funeral. You
Yeah.
heathens have been on his corpse
Belos
this whole
is just
time.
on a long mission to return the body for the Titan funeral.
Well, he doesn't know that they just want the body back. He's like, I'm opening the portal to get more Titans, and they're like, give us this dead Titan back. Like,
yeah, and he could be right if he's trying to open a portal. This is a classic thing too. Is I think Final Space, like the surrogate tries to open the thing, but then they're like, we don't care about you or what you wanted. We're gonna do what we want.
What we want, yes.
Now that it's open. Yeah, but if it maybe the Titan being revived means everyone loses their magic. That's another common thing when there's a show with magic, a la the magicians or something else. And so, but Luz has a different type of magic, so maybe now Luz and the magic she's teaching Eda and Lilith, they can still do that, even if the everyone else's magic is taken away. Here's another theory from Stephen LP. King is what remains of the Titan's mind. How about that? King is the Titan.
What? How? Though?
Well, I don't know how any of this is.
What if King is a baby Titan?
What if King? This notion that King is like lurking for some bigger or potentially eviler force is very appealing. I think that was subverted in the pilot.
Yeah,
but it still could be. They still could be true. We could do the double reverse, and King could be.
Well,
it's a double reverse.
The other reason why I slightly buy into that is because I vaguely remember it whenever like you see the head of the Titan and whenever King is telling like the mythology or whatever, its head looks and is the same shape as his.
Oh, that'd be really I mean, I would be so on board if this has been like, King the whole time and he ends up being like the reincarnated Titan or something. And he's just going to live a million years and grow really, really huge eventually. That'd be pretty cool.
Right? I do like the connection of King and the Titan. They're two presences on the show we don't know much about right now. I think tying them together could be interesting. Definitely want to know what's up with King. I think that's a big thing.
King?
I mean, I don't know. King and Eda, it's like, it feels like these are just like characters, like wacky characters that are designed for like a kid's show. And it's like, now we're going to apply an explanation to them beyond like what we're initially presenting. So, I mean, that's what it feels like, but it would be so satisfying if there's like some deeper meaning that feels like really organic from what was initially presented with.
Well, and it's not that we don't get deeper moments from those characters either. Like, you know, we had that very like heartfelt moment with Eda on the bridge thing where she was saying bye to Luz, essentially.
Yeah, they've definitely already done like emotionally deeper stuff with them. Like in terms of like mythology, I guess, is like, is there some bigger reason? Like King is just like the dog, like a horror sidekick type kid. Like, you know, like why is he like that? You know, like maybe we'll find out. Maybe it'll make a lot of sense thinking about it. Because have they been planting seeds?
It's so he's so evil that it's just coming across cute right now because he's not in a big, giant, terrifying body.
No,
yeah, when we get King's true body.
Maybe he has an inclination to actually be more evil than, you know, his life with Eda has allowed him to tap into. Like, maybe he could have been a lot more menacing, but, like, he ended up with Eda and she's chill, and so he's chill just because, like, you know, the people you're around rub off on you.
Yeah,
maybe that's
it. Could be what they're
maybe
doing.
he had potential to be really evil, but because he met the people he did, he ended up being like this.
And he
really
has to deal with Hooty.
Yeah, Hooty's the ultimate. Okay, so you asked, like, okay, what's bigger than Belos as a threat? We all know the answer is Hooty.
Hooty is very powerful.
He is literally the owl.
Yeah, Michelle, do you have any Hooty theories?
Hooty is my favorite character.
Speaking of characters that make no sense, obviously Hooty's number one.
I mean, that's why he could be anything, because we don't understand how he exists or what he is or like anything he's going to do before he does it.
Be fed. Yeah.
If the thing is, if you explain Hooty, you lose the joke, though, right? Like he's like just absurd. That's like his whole purpose. So like, what does Hooty become if he becomes more than what he is now? He loses his entire shtick.
No, he doesn't. He absorbs even more things. He doesn't lose anything. He just keeps growing.
He keeps getting bigger.
You can't make. He's too powerful already. We can't make him more powerful.
if they ever explain how she like got him to be a house for her, like that's the backstory from Eda I want the most.
Right.
How did she get
On a broad level, though, like us having a whole podcast trying to explain what's happening, like none of this makes sense with Hooty, the house, like King, like the whole setup does not make any sense. So the show has a lot ahead of itself if it's gonna like actually explain everything. I don't think it's gonna try to explain Hooty, but we'll see. Maybe it will.
Oh.
I feel like Owl House has one of the most broad, absurd premises to actually dive into that we've seen.
Hooty becomes our new Glossaric or whatever.
Yeah, is Hooty the Glossaric? Is he the cat? When we
that.
talked about a new body, I thought of Kevin. Like, what is Hooty?
Oh my gosh.
Hooty just wants to help everyone. It's just the problem is no one wants his help. It's the ultimate tragedy for him.
Just like Kevin on Final Space.
Yeah, Final Space we're talking about, yeah.
Kevin helps a lot, though. He just doesn't get any credit for it. I mean, maybe that's true of Hooty also. He did stop Lilith that one time, and they never thanked him. That's kind of sad.
Yeah. He did defeat Lilith. That was a big thing.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if he's part of their defense. Yeah, and if they're venturing in the water, are they bringing Hooty in the Owl House? I think probably they have
How
to.
do they bring
it's called
Hooty in the Owl House?
He's just
Well, I guess it
stretches.
too.
He moved in that one episode.
He can
Yeah,
stretch as far as
he is like Jake and can stretch. Yeah, so
Yeah.
will Hooty just
He's
is that a
just-
running joke? Is he just stretches occasionally and finds them despite them being very
He's
far
gonna
away?
visit Luz at school and just tap on the window like, "Hey, I was just wondering." Like,
Did he do that? Sounds like something they've done already. Did that happen? I don't know.
That might happen next season.
Yeah, okay. Well, back to Anderson. Last Titan-related theories from Jewel Shark on our Discord. Luz and Belos have a connection with the Titan. They can derive their magic from it. So versus everyone else deriving magic from the Titan, maybe it's just a Luz and Belos thing. I like that this concept of like Luz's magic being related to Belos's magic is interesting. The evidence she provides, no one else can see the glyphs in nature but Luz, and Belos isn't surprised by Luz's glyphs when we see it in the show. The glyphs allow Luz to tap into the magic of the Boiling Isles, and the Titan, like Belos does, is the concept. So I think there's a lot we can do with magic origins. In the next season.
I do want to address that. I don't think it has necessarily been proven that no one else can see the glyphs in nature. I think, like in the episode where Eda takes her to the winter place and tells her to like spend time looking at things, I think it's because Lilith knows the glyphs are in nature. I think it's like if you're born with a bile sac, you don't need to take the time to learn magic the old way, you can just do it intrinsically.
Okay, so you think everyone knows about the glyph
I think everyone
system?
could do it that way, but it's just not as convenient, so they didn't grow up doing it. But Luz kind of had to, so she's a special case.
I wonder if it's more like Luz is practicing more of like a primal version of magic, where like everyone else kind of has like the advanced, maybe not the advanced, but like the radiation from the primal magic.
Yeah,
which is why like Eda was still able to use magic whenever she used the glyph, but whenever she just tried to do it, it didn't work.
Yeah, so let's talk about that next. But
maybe that's part of why she's so much more powerful. Maybe it's because she took time to learn like the old school way on top of. She's like those people that they learn how to drive stick shift before they do an automatic car.
Oh, yeah.
They can drive anything. So maybe
that's
magic
Luz
for
has been
her.
practicing the stick shift of magic.
Exactly. That's exactly what she's been doing. That's why she's so good now, because she learned the absolute basic fundamentals that are the strongest.
Yeah, so we do see that Eda is able to do. So Luz isn't the only one able to do the glyph magic. I like the concept of Belos. This is how Belos does magic. I don't have the impression that everyone knows the way Luz can do it. I think that's valid. I don't think we know yet what's up with the glyphs and stuff.
They also just take a different kind of patience.
Right, like I feel like what the show's going for is Luz is special, and like what makes her Luz enables her to tap into magic and see the glyphs, but no one else can. That was my impression, but we might go another direction.
I feel like that's not as satisfying though, because I feel like there's been like Adora's like she was kind of like predestined for that, but I think a lot of these characters, it's like the thing that's so attractive is that they're just willing to learn things. And like, especially for Luz, I feel like a lot of her appeal is like she came from so many disadvantages in this new world, but because she took the time to learn and she like had that devotion to it, it really paid off for her in a way that it hasn't for a lot of people who have bile sacs. And I think it would, to me, be a little sad if like she ends up just being inherently special because, you know, it's just like, well, that's cool. Not anyone can do that because she had some special thing up her sleeve. But if she just did this on her own and is just a normal human, that's like way more fun to me in a way.
I think a lot of what you said could apply to Eda can do it, so everyone can do it. It's just only Luz has figured it out.
Exactly, she took the time.
So so I guess that's what I'm saying is like Luz, I don't think whether people know or don't know about this. I think I'm saying like they probably don't know. Luz figured it out, but anyone can do it. It's just that she's worked hard and she hasn't. It didn't come easy to her with like having magic innately, so she's had to figure out how to tap into it. Other people could have done this before, but no one's really figured it out because why would they when they have magic right in front of them?
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I think
they're taking like Luz is forced to take the longer road
mm-hmm,
to mastering the power versus everyone else.
Yeah, that's my guess, but I do think what's going on with the glyphs, what's going on with the bile sacs, the Titan, none of it is spelled out by the show yet. So I think we can go in a number of directions.
It's a lot of speculation.
Yeah, but I in general, like Luz and Belos having a connection. I think Belos' future Luz. That was my theory from before. But no, I think it's. I think that them having some sort of relation, is Belos Luz's father. I don't think we're going to go down that route.
No.
But that is like some sort of connection is appealing.
If we go down that route, I'm going to throw something.
That's just like too small world thinking. I just can't with that.
Right?
I am your father. It's the classic twist.
No.
It only happened one time. How is that classic? It only
well, because it's one of the most classic twists. So that makes it. Well,
I see that coming from a mile away.
We'll see. I'm sure other shows have done it since that, but I mean, could anyone else that we know of be Luz's father? I mean,
no,
I don't think it matters. Like, I know everyone wants to know when we.
I do think what it's going for is like it doesn't matter that she doesn't have a father figure, right? Like that's more
it's
appealing.
Like wanting to know who Toph hooked up was. Like we're never gonna know, and people always want to know, but we're just not gonna know.
Yeah, I like Eda Toph comparison. I don't know if
oh my god, yeah,
there you go.
I feel like they'd definitely be friends.
Amazing by herself. I'd love that.
Actually,
her.
no, Luz would really annoy Toph probably. But
yes,
yeah, okay. Well, we're gonna go back to Lilith and Eda because we talked about them. So at the end of the season, the curse has meant Eda's lost her magic or is losing her magic. Unclear if it's completely gone. And Lilith. I feel like the implication is that Lilith is going to be in the same boat. That's a little bit less spelled out.
Well, because what is it? The curse would sort of restrain her from using magic because if she used too much magic, then she would turn into the owl lady person thing, monster that she was. And so I wonder if, as like a repercussion of that, or of what Lilith did, she no longer has that sort of baseline magic, but that Lilith now has limitations on her magic before she turns into a crazy creature thing.
Oh, yeah, because, like, that makes sense because when Eda was getting turned into stone, she was, like, pretty far gone before Lilith got to her and stopped that from happening. But if she, at that point, took it on, yeah, maybe it's, like, because Eda was already at, like, 50% capacity, now she's down to like 10% and can barely do any, but Lilith taking on half of that, she now only has 50%, but it's not quite as terrible for her. Like she's where Eda was, but she's not any worse off than that.
Yeah,
I think that makes sense.
For whatever reason, I also am under the impression that Lilith maybe can do a little bit more magic left, but she's lost her power, but Eda probably has nothing. That's the impression I'm under.
Well, and that's why, that's why I think it is the way that it is, because now, like, Lilith is essentially the person who's cursed, which would then be a great way for Lilith and Eda to bond.
Yeah.
Because she's like, Eda could be like, I'm here for you, sister. I know what you're going through. Here, have this magic elixir. You'll be better in the morning.
Yeah. I mean, in general, Lilith, She's not going back to the Emperor, right?
No,
She's-
he kicked her out, and he tried to kill her sister. She's fully disillusioned to him now.
I think so too.
'Cause
So
I think-
is
I think
is Lilith living at the Owl
planned on it.
House now? How about
Oh
that?
yeah.
I mean, I would hope so, but it's gonna be super awkward that first episode of
Well,
that.
it's gonna be really hilarious.
Hooty's
That's
gonna
a,
try
that's
to
a
beat
natural
her
first
up
episode.
all the
is-
time, and Eda's gonna have to explain to Hooty, no, she's on our side now. It's fine.
Can you imagine all of them having to share that bathroom?
Oh
Like,
my god, does Hooty? need to
I hope
use
they
the
have multiple
bathroom?
bathrooms. Oh no.
I don't
oh,
know.
no.
I mean,
Don't
he
say
kind of is the bathroom, I guess.
he is the
He
bathroom.
is the owl
the-
house.
Yeah.
He's the whole house.
I think Hooty would be really excited to have Lilith there, like former
More
war
company.
buddies,
That's
like
true.
now we're getting
It's a
along.
chance
It's
for him
great.
to potentially have a friend. Of
I think
course
if anyone's
he's
introduced to Hooty as a friend, he'll be friends with them. I think Hooty is very well intentioned. How about that? That's the
his
nicest thing I'll
charm.
say about Hooty.
Lilith and Hooty become best friends because everyone's still salty at Lilith.
Yeah, they're the two outcasts in the Owl House. Yeah.
Totally happened. Yeah, it's like her last option, but it's better than nothing.
Okay, so Lilith is there. So at the end of the season, we're presented with Luz teaching Eda the glyph magic. So probably that's going to continue into next season, especially if Eda doesn't have her magic. By the way, if Eda is part of like an existing rebellion, I mean, Luz introducing this new form to Eda and the fact that anyone can use it, that could be a game changer for them. Maybe that's the hook into the exist. That's why you want to introduce Luz to the rebellion.
I also wonder if this makes it more of a priority that Luz is going to Hexside now, because she literally she has to teach Eda, but she is still just learning herself, and so that would also go into play why, or her being able to use all of the different kinds of magic, so then she can go back to Eda and teach her all of that as well.
Ooh, yeah, because we do need to Luz being at school for at least another season. That's a lot of time being at school, so that has to be useful somehow to the larger scheme of the plot. I would imagine. So that, yeah, I really like that, April. I think it makes a lot of sense that she could be taking what she learns from school and giving it to Eda and Lilith to maybe practice witchy stuff on their own time and figuring out new things that the school system doesn't know how to do or something.
Well, okay. How about is Luz going back to Hexside next season? I mean, there's a
don't
lot
know.
about the
I
structure
think
we don't know
so.
yet.
I would think so, but that again, that would be sort of a driving force to for the story to continue at Hexside.
I mean, we talked about this briefly on the previous podcast. I'm like, this is just a big question we have to answer if we're going to speculate on the season. Is the season they're on the run from the Emperor now, or are we going back to status quo? And I think we arrived at the conclusion probably Belos isn't going to be immediately attacking them because he's sending a spy, which would imply that they're just back to status quo. So probably she will attend
I think
Hexside.
then once Belos figures out or learns that Eda's learning magic from Luz, then he'll probably kick it into high gear and be all right, this has to end now, because
Right, he could want to shut it down once he learns of things, yeah.
Because as
Um,
of right now, as far as he knows, Eda, Luz, and Lilith are no threat to him.
Mm-hmm. Which is why he only sent one person to creep on them. Probably one person's not
Yeah,
he can spare one person, but he didn't send a whole army after him.
Just sending one out, and this ties into another big thing that we'll see followed up is the spy. He's sending to an owl mask guy.
Do we even know it's a guy? All we know.
We don't know anything. No, just
Yeah.
a
We
just know they
guy
have
in a
an owl
neutral
mask.
sense. Yeah, I don't even know if it is supposed to be an owl mask, but it kind of looks like that.
They really like owls, so I'm gonna say it's
That's
an owl.
I'm gonna send a spy to the owl house. They have to have an owl mask.
Yeah.
That'll really blend
So
in.
it can make friends with Hooty. They're thinking ahead. Oh, Hooty's an owl, so make him look like an owl.
I just love the idea that he's I have to spy on the owl lady and her owl house. I will send an owl spy.
I'll make it an owl.
Maybe it is an owl, an actual owl.
Yeah, that'd
who
be an
knows?
amazing reveal if it's just a big owl.
Wearing an owl mask.
Yeah. And Hooty's
This-
what are you? What are you doing here?
This
family
is
member.
something that was like directly presented at the end of the season. So this is like a pure like end of season thing that we're gonna follow up on. I'm like, is the spy someone who's just gonna like lurk in the forest and watch them, or is it someone who's gonna be introduced to them that they're just not gonna know is a spy?
Ooh, that would be so. I would love that if it becomes a
Yeah.
new fake friend.
Yeah, well, I mean, I said because like spy, I think does imply someone who's not just like observing, someone who's like getting
in
immersed
it.
in the
I
opposition
guess it
territory.
depends on how smart Belos is, because like Belos super underestimated Lilith's ability to turn her back on her sister. Like, cause like like Lilith's the one, she's in charge of the task. Like she's in charge of like the Covens. She's like the head honcho. She was his right hand lady. And it didn't like cross his mind that like, oh, maybe she's going to betray you because she can't really turn in her sister and let you destroy her sister. And you kind of lied to her and said you were going to help her sister. Like for whatever reason, like he didn't like think that could happen. And that's exactly what happened. And he's worse off for it. So if he can make big glaring mistakes like that, his decision making isn't airtight. So maybe he's not smart enough to be like, spy, you're going to befriend them and learn their secrets intimately. Instead, he's going to do a dumb thing and be like, spy, just creep on them from a bush and figure out whatever you can from a
what's
distance.
going on.
Maybe Belos isn't that smart when it comes to like that side of being a decision maker in charge, you know? Maybe he's too obsessed with the power stuff to be good at like the management side of his job.
Well, that's where Kikimora comes in. Maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's where like Kikimora steps into play, and she's like, but then like I don't know, I kind of fear that Belos would become sort of that like that humorous villain kind of thing. Like we kind of like will.
He still needs to be
him.
threatening.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't think we've seen Belos. We haven't seen much evidence of Belos being super smart so far. I agree with that.
No, we haven't. Which is why like I'm scared that he will just become like that dumb villain. Like I want him to stay an overwhelming,
stay threatening.
Yeah,
I think it's a good point. I don't understand why Belos is gonna let Luz and Eda just go. Why are you still underestimating Luz after she burns the portal and chipped your mask? To me, that's why I'm like, we can't just go back to status quo. I feel like it doesn't really track after the finale unless there's more information we're not aware of. But maybe Belos is really just super focused on this portal.
I think he's obsessed with Unity Day. That's such a big.
Yeah, it would make sense if he has like a really good plan that he thinks is airtight. Then I guess it makes sense to not care about Luz and Eda.
I'm assuming that's it, which is just it's such a huge glaring flaw. But I mean, that's what he's doing probably. So okay, but we'll see how that works out for you. But
I would like there to be something we don't know about that maybe explains why he's not going after them, or some other thing that's I would like a little bit more explanation from the show if we're just going to go right back to it.
I really think it's like between the combination of his deadline and he really doesn't think they're a threat anymore. He's like, look, I only have until Unity Day to get this done. This is a 120-day project. I've only got 90 days to complete it. Like,
already over budget, past schedule.
Yeah, we're already over budget.
I do think that goes back to what you said, April, though, of that makes him less threatening if we completely disagree with the direction he's going in. So I do worry about that a little bit. But yeah, the spy I think is interesting. I do think probably it's a thing he'll integrate. If there's a rebellion, I mean, that's an actual spy application, send a spy to the other side. But I don't know, Belos probably wouldn't know about the rebellion, or else he'd be trying to squash it unless we don't know about that. This spy character, I think a lot of people are excited for it. It seems like the crew is excited for the spy character too. So we'll see how this comes into play.
New friends.
Yeah.
I think they mentioned, so we have some auxiliary information from, they did a charity live stream, Dana and a few others, and then Dana did a Reddit AMA, so we have some information from those. I think they mentioned the spy. I think they also mentioned another character, like another new character we don't know about yet, so there's multiple new characters coming into play. Two of the other ones are Amity's parents. We haven't even talked about this yet.
They're going to be real characters?
Yes, so we know that.
I'm
I think
so
from
excited to meet these humans or these witches.
Witches, yeah, not humans. But these this is. We know that they are going to be a main focus of season 2, I believe. From the information. So we know their names. They are Odalia and Alador.
Oh my
Her
god!
mo-
Of course,
Love
those are the
those
names.
names.
her
Of
mom and her
course that
dad.
was the name.
We didn't that was from the AMA. I think. I don't think they said it in the show yet. So this is a main thing to be anticipating. It's possible they're the main villains of the season, and Belos is like the next step. So maybe we don't know. We don't know. Are they part of Belos's like army or power structure?
Are
We
they
know.
in that? Do we even know?
We don't. I don't think we. Though here's what we know about them. I think that they're bad. They're presented as kind of bad parents to Amity in the flashback episode, and then we see them in the that being like episode 14 or whatever, and then we see them in the finale in the Hexside stands. They went to like Hexside at the same time as Lilith and Eda, but that's basically it. And Dana said one thing on the AMA about how Odalia likes her children to be color coordinated, so Amity dyes her hair green. So that like,
it's for her mom. Oh, that's way sadder.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
it invites some
Mom
more sadder
issues.
explanation of the green.
That was
hair,
for Azura, which was like way cuter.
yeah, we don't know how Amity feels about it yet, but it does invite Amity's green hair. There's a lot of fan art of Amity having brown hair. That's because of what Dana said. People think that Amity won't want to have green hair once she's like past her parents. So a lot of people, based on all that information, a lot of people are speculating Odalia is the more evil one. Not a lot to go on. But I'm interested to see how they're part of the Belos plotline, how they relate to Amity. As a big Amity fan, I don't want them to be super terrible parents. They're already bad parents, but like I don't want super suffering for Amity. That would be really sad. How's Amity going to fit into this new dynamic of Luz going against the Emperor is something to look at too. Presume if they're still at the Owl House, she can just stay in her current position, I guess. But is she going to be forced to choose between her parents if they work for the Emperor and kind of Luz and Eda and everyone?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Well, and I think
That's
that would depend on where like Amity's, I guess, inner alliances lie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's true.
And
she hasn't been able to confront Lilith yet at all, and she was super looking up to, like, she was her prodigy, basically.
Yeah, so quickly in that, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast, but in episode 5, it's presented as Lilith being Amity's mentor. We haven't followed up on that since, so we don't know where that stands. But Lilith now is away from the Emperor, so is that, even without taking Luz into account, is like her parents versus Lilith going to be a thing if Lilith is against the Emperor and Odalia and Alador are for the Emperor?
Or who will be Amity's new like mentor? Because that could be that could also be like the introduction of like another like threatening force.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe she's like assigned some other person to try to like control her. I will say if the parents being real characters, though, I feel like they're going to be the main tying of Amity to the bad side. I feel like that's probably their role. But yeah, it's hard to say though, like in terms of Odalia and Alador, we don't know a lot about them. So, I think it's intriguing to have, the girlfriend's parents be the villain of the season. I think that's, invites a lot of drama.
Small potato villains, for whatever reason, they just give me like, Lucius and Narcissa Malfoy vibes. They're just like a fancy family that's probably sort of magic racist and
yeah, that would probably be the comparison.
Upper middle class and like very granular and kind of anal about the kids and the life they want their kids to have and the kind of family they want to have. But if that's true, then like I don't think they're nearly on the level with Belos, and they might not even be like connected to him. They just like, they've signed into this society and they want to fit in as best they can and to have as much power from it as possible as like, upper middle class people. And if that's true, like maybe they could be won over. Maybe they're not too far gone.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of what we know about them right now.
Yeah.
Unless there is some form of like Alador works directly under Belos. Unless there's something we don't know yet, that would make them bigger threats.
Oh my gosh, Amity's dad is the spy.
Oh, what?
Oh my
what if-
god,
yeah.
that would be so crazy. He's like, oh wait, are they like holding hands? What's going on with my daughter? Like, did she have a new girlfriend I didn't know about? What is this?
I mean, we got it. Regardless, that is interesting. Tying to I'm thinking of it as the spy is a new character. Her parents are a new character. What if they're the same? That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
But
that would be cool.
regardless, we
not?
got to get their reaction to Luz and Amity. We also haven't gotten the twins' reaction. How do the twins play into these changing loyalties? Are they gonna? Because from what we've seen, it doesn't seem like Amity's crazy about her parents, but we don't really know yet. I feel like a bigger influence on Amity would be her siblings. So are they gonna want her to stay closer to the parents and Belos, or are they more for? You'd think they'd be more for the rebellion side of things if that's what it ends up being, but maybe that's too optimistic. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, anything else comes to mind in terms of the role Odalia and Aldor could play?
I really want one of them to be the spy now, because I think that would add such an interesting element.
It's an interesting, theory.
Because also, I don't think that the spy has ever been around whenever Amity's been there, so...
What if it's your new substitute teacher at school and it's
Oh
one of
my
the two of them?
god.
Yes!
Amity would be mortified. It's
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I just like, how are they going to play into because they're not a part of the show right now. Like, what part of the show are they entering? I think it's just hard to speculate.
It's either plot or it's Lumity. Like, there's only two options. Like,
those are the two components of
If it's
Outhouse.
Lumity, then Luz will have to be going back to Hexside.
And we're not talking about Lumi, but in general, is Lumity going to tie into the plot of the show? That's a big question too. Like,
ideally, yes, eventually, but like, I'm okay if it's not. It wasn't it didn't really tie into the plot this last season. I'm okay if it doesn't in season 2 either. Just because I feel like they've been able to balance those two things. I've been content with Luz being in plot.
So far, they've been separate. Yeah. I think if it was going to tie into the show, Odalia and Aldor would be a natural way to do it. If for instance, one or both of them works directly under the Emperor, and also their disapprovingness kept Amity away from Luz, that's like a natural connection, I think, for those two elements.
Oh my god, that'd be such a good teen struggle thing. Like, my parents won't let me see you, but I'm still gonna see you in secret or something.
And I will say, the other thing we know about Odalia and Aldor, they didn't want Amity to hang out with Willow because Willow wasn't a high enough cast of witch. So, big question, how do they feel about humans?
Not great. Not great.
Probably
super
not well.
racist towards them, I'm assuming.
A lot of people saying maybe they're not even homophobic, maybe that's not even an issue, but they would be human phobic, right? Like, maybe that's
See, I 100% believe that's where I don't think they'll be homophobic at all, because why be progressive if you're gonna just take a step back like that? But
they could show the struggle of what many people go through in our world, or this could be a different world, and so it's different kind of struggles. There's kind of two paths they could take.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea better that they don't like Luz because she's a human, versus they don't like Luz because their daughter.
A lot of people think that is what's going to happen just because of what we know about them and Willow. So it's what's beneath a weak witch is a human who can't do magic. But maybe they learn that Luz can do powerful magic. Maybe they like her.
Maybe
actually,
they'll love her. That's the thing.
Maybe they'll love Luz more than they love Amity, which would be very sad.
That would be really
and then the way this usually goes, then Luz is enamored with them, approving of her, and Amity is upset about it, and Luz doesn't even realize that'd be sad.
I definitely think another possible moment that could take place is that the Amity's parents end up meeting Luz because of the twins, because the twins will say something to Amity at dinner, how's Luz doing? And they're who's Luz?
Who's that? Yeah,
bring her over for dinner tomorrow.
Blight dinner scene, please.
To see what her goals are and if she's fancy enough for their daughter.
Yeah, should you be associating with? They don't even know it's romantic, but should you be associating with their daughter?
Person.
Okay, I definitely want the Blight dinner scene. I would also love the Luz interrogation. That would be wonderful too. Yeah, they don't even need to be big plot villains. They can just be romantic plot villains. Basically, they don't even need to be Belos. I have a feeling they're going to be tied to Belos. I don't know. I don't. It's not really based on anything.
I'm convinced now.
Not really based on anything, but Yeah, so this is definitely something to keep an eye on based on what we've heard of auxiliary information. I do think it was presented in season 1. They are presented as these shadowy figures. We see them as they're younger. So we've been leading up to this in terms of them being big forces in the show. I think the last main thing we haven't talked about yet, I think, is Luz's mom. I mean, we've talked a little bit about it, but the portal being closed, Luz can't contact her mom again at the end of the season. She's like recording a video message, I think, for her mom.
Well, she hasn't been contacting her mom the entire time anyway, but now she just can't go back at all.
Yes, that is true. But however, Luz's mom thinks she's being contacted because in the End of the Grom episode, we see she's getting letters that are, to us, obviously fake from Luz, but we don't know anything about who's sending these letters. This was not followed up on after the Grom episode. So this is an interesting component as well. A lot of people are like, is Belos writing letters to Luz's mom? That would invite.
I don't think he's smart enough for that. Like, if he makes mistakes about
now we
Lilith,
think he's well. That fits in with him being dumb, right? If the letters are bad, our new dumb Belos theory. The thing that doesn't make sense is that Belos didn't have access to the portal before, so how is he getting the letters? And now,
so it has to be someone who's had access to the portal. I wonder if it was Eda doing it.
So a lot of people think Eda is the other option.
I think it's King.
Aw, King.
I think King's like trying to do a nice thing in his own King way. Because, like, I don't know, like, I feel like only episode 1 or 2, Eda would, like, get Luz's name wrong somehow, but, like, maybe King would make that mistake.
What if it's Albert?
Albert?
More Albert in the general is a high priority.
But Albert was the one who would go and collect things from the human world for Eda.
That's true. Albert has the biggest connection.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it.
Eda wasn't even going to the human world herself.
The obvious flaw is that we're assigning like human characteristics to Albert, who we don't know has like a human thinking mind. But
look, Albert he's
pretty smart.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Do we know that? I get.
Yeah, because like, when he got hurt by Luz accidentally, like he knew that he needed time to recuperate, and he didn't just go back to her. He has like a sense
I want to rewatch the Palisman episode
priorities.
For that. In the By the way, speaking of that, the Bat Queen I think is another main thing we could follow up on.
Oh my god, yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, we need.
I don't think there's anything hanging with the Black Queens. There's not a lot to speculate on, but she could definitely come back.
She would join the rebellion.
She's a bat. Was that a bat joke?
Yeah, no pun intended.
Oh.
Yeah.
She would join the rebellion. She'd be awesome.
She absolutely would. Yeah.
If there's an existing rebellion, Bat Queen's in there, right? Yeah. Get
100.
Does she count as a wild witch if she's a bat? I don't know how anything works.
Yeah, wild witch is
leading
just
the rebellion.
Yeah.
I guess Eda. So back to Luz's letters. I think Eda's still the main target on the board. King is a good thought too, especially if they're being like cutely misspelled and stuff. That would make sense from King. But how does that make sense with Eda? That means Eda has more awareness of what's going on than she's letting on. Because that's the thing. If someone knows about Luz's mom, they have information about Luz getting there, about who Luz was back home. Like no one really. Eda's the person who most fits the bill, but like no one really. It makes sense that they would send letters at the moment. So this is interesting.
It's hard. Yeah.
I think I need more information. Like
we really only had that one
from
scene.
The end of one episode,
and it was like
up
3 seconds.
Yeah.
And look, the show has not followed up on certain things before. This is like a direct thing they need to follow up on.
Yeah,
this is like a thing they presented as a mystery.
Well,
so we'll get the answer at some point.
It's like crossing like Luz's, human self with the mystical and magical side.
Yeah, and in general, like, is this just Eda or King just trying to placate Luz's mom, checking in on her, totally well-intentioned, or is there a broader conspiracy going on? Because, like, that's the thing. If it's not just Eda placating Luz's mom, it has to be some bigger conspiracy, because nothing else makes sense.
There's an easy way to find that out. If she gets one more letter, we'll know it's not Eda or King, because their portal's gone. I mean, someone has connection to the world outside of that portal, which seems impossible if Belos doesn't even have that yet.
As far as we know, there's no other. The portal's gone. There's no connection to the human world right now, but there could be a third party who has another portal.
How did giraffes get into our world?
Well, if the thing with the giraffe joke is first of all, it's just stupid jokes. They're not gonna. That's not really gonna be a part of the plot. But if humans did wander, if humans wandered over originally, giraffes came with them. So or didn't come up with them.
Well,
yeah,
I'm just
so.
saying that there has to be other ways to make
Yeah.
portals or for portals to exist because they literally banished giraffes. So,
Did
like,
they say they banished them, or they naturally
no, they
go over?
banished them.
The thing, it doesn't make sense if Belos only 50 years ago. Giraffe's been here for longer.
Maybe there's
Well, yeah.
areas where the barrier between worlds is weaker, so things can just kind of wander in and out, but nobody knows.
There could be a whole plane of
yeah,
where
maybe
things
it's far away from
emerge.
the town, outskirts of the Titan, but they exist.
Well, no, humans wandered in and became witches. Giraffes wandered out. There's the
exactly that's the balance to the universe.
But I also remember Eda saying things like, "Oh, like everything that." Like, a lot of the things that you guys have in the human world came from here, like vampires. So, like...
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, it's just all, the setup of the... that's what I'm saying. It show had a silly setup. It's how much of it really makes any sense.
But I'm going to take it to heart now, because that's all the information I have.
I mean, no, you should, though, because it's canonically presented. So I do think they should... I mean, all that could be tongue-in-cheek, could have been joking, I guess.
Tell me I'm wrong. Until then.
Come on, Eda, tell us.
Change my mind.
Change
my mind.
That's April.
There's
something with April at the table with giraffes.
In the boiling aisles. Changed my mind.
No, not Steven Universe. We were talking about Owl House. Yeah. Okay. But no, so yeah, we'll see about the letters. And in general, the last thing with the portal being closed, because this is a big impact on Luz's, Luz emotionally, her character arc. There's no threat of her, being ejected from the boiling owls right now. So, that's, something she was, afraid of is, her being in an untenable situation. But, so now she's, cemented there, but that has its own sort of, emotional ramifications, because she is completely cut off from her previous life. So I think, that's something we're definitely going to see from her. I'd love to see Amity comforting her about that, something like that. We're going to talk about Lumity. I'm sorry. So yeah, I think just the portal not being there. It's a big thing. How are we going to talk about it? Is Eda going to try to get a new portal? Is Belos the only one trying to make a portal now? Is this going to be priority of Luz is connecting back home? Is she suddenly going to really want them to investigate how to make a new portal?
I love that Belos is so desperate to have a portal that he's literally taking the remains and trying to build it again.
That's one smart thing he's done so far. Maybe the only smart thing besides.
What if ends up not working at all? Maybe it's not smart at all.
I mean, he doesn't know
he's
that.
He's got an opportunity. He's gonna try it. If it doesn't work out, okay. But it'd be worse if he didn't try. He understands at least that much.
Yeah.
We don't know what his aims are. Maybe it's a stupid aim, and so it doesn't matter. But.
That's very true.
Every question with Belos is going to be, well, maybe it's stupid, though. If we consider that angle.
Yeah, that's one of our big takeaways from this podcast. Is Belos just stupid? That's the new theory.
Is this a smart idea or a stupid idea?
Yeah. Okay. Last few things. Covens. We talked about Covens and the rigid Coven system Belos has implemented. We haven't seen a ton about the Covens so far. We basically just know what they are. So are we going to see more? Are we going to have episodes visiting various covens? We're going to see more people from certain covens. I think that's a pretty big thing in terms of developing the mythology of the show.
Only because Luz is going to be taking all the different classes, so she's going to be exposed now to more of the covens because it's a part of her schoolwork, since she's allowed to study all of them. So I would imagine they'd be a bigger part just because of that.
Yeah, in general, it's interesting that, we're kind of seeing the Covens as a bad thing if it's a restriction imposed by Belos, but they're also, seems like there's good things to come out of them. So I think that's an interesting thing to explore.
I don't think the Covens themselves are inherently bad.
It's just the one type of magic, but the Covens are, the society they've developed around it, I guess.
Yeah. I think the only, Coven that's really, I guess, evil or threatening
the Emperor's Coven.
Yeah, the Emperor's Coven. So I feel like the others are going to be very nice, and they're going to be excited about Luz. I could just feel it.
And speaking of the Emperor's Coven, the head is Lilith, right? And she's gone now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Kiki. Who knows?
Kiki, the new head of the Emperor. Yeah, that's definitely the number one contender for a new head of the Emperor's Coven, but we'll see.
Or it'll be Amity's mom.
Or dad, or maybe
honestly, that's a really good point.
The other's the head of the coven.
I love this.
I actually think that's a really good role for tying them to Belos, head of the Emperor's Coven. I think that's actually perfect. So I'd expect one of them to be.
ruling together as a duo.
Yeah, it's both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's more Coven specifics. Emperor's Coven logistics could tie to Amity's parents. I think that's good. Fun topic I wanted to very quickly bring up is we talk a lot about Lumity, but there have been several other ships in the Owl House fandom that have developed that are these kind of secondary ships that I kind of want to see, like, are any of these actually plausible to happen in the show? Let's run through them. So first, Willow and Basha is developed into this main second ship for the Owl House fandom.
Why? Basha's so mean.
Drama. And
Willow deserves someone way better than Basha.
So we'd have reformed Basha, you know,
You think reformed Basha's like not on Willow's level though. Willow's so powerful. She's like the second most powerful witch after Lilith and Eda, from what we've seen, in my opinion. She's for a nice Basha. She could have a super powerful, nice girlfriend.
Yeah, well, people are shipping it, I guess, after the the sports episode. So this, I think this is like at least a thing that could happen because they're both students there. This is at least something that is in play.
She's also students with literally everyone else who goes to that school.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, this is a big ship. I don't know if any of us are like super on board with it, but there's a lot of some good fan art and stuff. Here's another really good secondary ship. I love this one. Amira, the Amity's sister, and Viney, the group of students we meet in the first day episode, the fishhook earring girl, Viney. I don't believe who you don't remember. Viney and Gerbo were I forget their group's name. The episode where Luz figures out she's gonna do all types of magic at the end. She's the outcasts. She meets the outcast group.
All right, she's the outcast. Viney.
Viney's one of the outcasts. Yeah, she's in detention. The detention. Yeah. So, no, here's the thing. Amir and Viney, they have not met. Another ship is Edric and Gerbo. Edric is the brother, and Gerbo is the guy outcast. Neither of these pairs have met, but people ship them together. There's a lot of good Amira and Viney fan art. I think this is a great pairing. I also like Edric and Gerbo.
I like Edric and Gerbo more just because Gerbo's such a cursed name. I feel like he should be with Edric.
You even know that? Yeah, it's a good name.
The name.
I do like gay Edric. I think this is a route we should go down. But okay, so we'll see about those. I guess these are at least plausible considering they haven't met. Here's one who has also not met, but this is a hot fandom ship. Eda and Camilla, Luz's mom.
No!
Ship the moms together.
That'd be best case scenario, but
two moms.
For Eda and Camilla, I don't know.
I feel like they're not like, I understand opposites attract, but not like that.
They're very opposite.
I don't think we know enough about Camilla to really make this judgment.
I feel like we have a good idea about Camilla.
Camilla doesn't like nerd stuff or fantasy, and Eda's the embodiment of both those things to an extent. So she has that kind of against her right now, probably. Oh no! I mean,
out on all these.
I get the ship appeal, and I do think it'd be fun for Luz, but like, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of Eda being like a bachelorette who just plays the field and dates everyone and doesn't necessarily ever settle down because that's too.
Well, I think that's probably what she is.
Eda and the warden need to get together.
Oh,
it takes. Oh no, the warden. No, come on, that's the toxic ship. Is Eda and the warden. Camilla is the only one that can tie Eda down. That's the dynamic. You know, it takes someone like Camilla to really tame Eda. Okay, here's let's see if you remember this character. Last one, Gus and Matholomew.
Oh yeah, Matt's the one who tried to usurp his position as president in the human.
President, the human.
Oh
council,
yeah, they got a vibe for sure.
Human expert.
Yeah, so he's the Matholomew's the villain of that episode. Yes. They're the opposing forces in school. This is I'll say this is definitely the most plausible ship. It's the least popular of the five, but here. Yeah. Dana posted some like promo art she did with and like it's either like Matholomew's giving Gus like some sort of look. So I'm just saying I was getting the vibes from
nice
from
to
that.
Be angry, but it's a look, so we'll take it.
Look, angry, passion, all tied together. You know,
look, if
they all equal love.
Yeah, if Amity and Luz could get together after their disdain for each other, then. they can as well.
Initial, yeah, Gus
I
and
think
yeah.
Matt has potential to like cool.
Is he Matt? Is that what we know him as, Matt?
I mean, I'm not gonna call him his full name. That's too long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, it's spelled weird.
They're all witches. Yeah, I actually think the show is going to do this. I actually think this is happening.
Really?
Gus and Bartholomew.
Okay, that's fine.
Matt's gonna have to shape up before he's.
Oh yeah, he has to shape up.
But if he does shape up, then I'll support it.
He's gonna keep picking on Gus, but we're gonna learn it's because he likes him. It's gonna be one of those things.
I mean, Gus is
Yeah,
kind
I
of
do that
younger,
too.
so that makes sense. That maybe they'd have a little more rough.
Yeah,
time.
they're both.
Yeah.
Younger, I think, so yeah. Okay. So of the 5, this is I think the least popular and also the most likely.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
God.
why it's probably not popular.
You want the ships that are never gonna happen.
It makes the most sense.
Yeah, I get like Amira, Viney, Edric, Jerbo. These are like if they meet, we'll see.
Those
But
are
these
Edric and Gerbo is my top ship. Out
You still don't know who Jerbo is yet. You're just saying.
His name's Gerbo. He's got to be great.
Okay, look up.
That.
Just Google some Edric Jerbo Fahrenheit, then you can see if you ship it.
No, computer. I will not do that. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't know what's
It's
up there.
an owl house. I don't think.
know
I
what
mean,
Gerbo looks like.
say
Maybe
that.
it's not
he's a child. They're all children. What do you like?
Gerbo. What if he's a huge germ? Maybe he's literally a walking virus.
He's like a goofy looking. Like rewatch the first day episode, and we'll see. And they also had like a horse or something as a friend. Like it was weird.
What? Okay.
A dog, a horse. I don't remember.
I
It was
ship
an
Gerbo
animal.
and Edric. Top ship. Going.
I don't know why you remember Bartholomew so much, but
Ultimate.
not Viney and Jerbo. But they're all similar
That's
episodes.
a better name than Gerbo. Gerbo's name's so whack. Like I want something for him so he can have Edric.
Amira and Willow.
Who?
Amira and Willow.
Amira and Willow. Yeah, I think there's an age gap there.
But how much?
So
Like
age is but a number.
3 years? Once they're in their 20s, it won't matter. That's true, but it might matter a lot if they're in high school.
Yeah, I don't think we know how old the twins are. Yeah, so I think Willow would be like 14, same age as them. But again, we don't know. So maybe this is out there. We gotta check the Wikia.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be. Yeah, this is not a popular ship, but I like Willow and Skara. Yeah, Skara. I like Willow and Skara.
Okay,
That's my
seems
ship.
chill. I like Skara.
Yeah, Skara seems a lot more chill than Basha, so I think that's a better pairing for Willow. But that's why they don't ship it as much, is because it's not as inflamed, or I don't know how you put it, but
He's
like
very inflamed. And Basha's very
Yeah.
inflamed.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing I want to bring up, we've mentioned this a few times on the podcast, but this is a theory totally based on purely Little Witch Academia. So minor spoilers for that anime, which I still see as the main comparison to the Owl House. But there's a figure in a book, Azura. And so Azura has to be somebody real. Like that's what you got to do. So what if
she
she doesn't have to be? But if you want to follow Little Witch Academia, what if Eda is the mythical figure of Azura, or someone else is Azura?
Okay.
Like,
So Azura has that tealish colored hair, right?
Yeah.
So what if Amity's mom looks exactly like Azura?
Oh my god.
wouldn't Amity's an Azura fan too, though? Wouldn't Amity have figured this out?
No.
Maybe it's like oh my god, what if it's not that Azura is real, but like the person who wrote the series is real?
Yeah, we
And
could meet the
they're
author of
keeping
Azura.
the author's keeping their identity hidden because it's like so popular, and like maybe if people found out, they'd like judge them based on what their
And
job.
also, like Amity, I feel like Amity wouldn't make that connection either.
Yeah, like who suspects
It's
their
like
mom or dad? of being
Luz
wrong?
meets Amity's mom and she's like, "This is Azura. You've never noticed this? Yeah, that could be a thing."
And she's like Amity, and Amity's like, "What?" She's like, "Your mom is Azura," and she's like, "No, she's not. That's my mom."
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
funny.
a mom can't be that cool.
I don't understand why Luz and Amity both read the Azura books. I don't understand how
I
that
think
works.
they're just really popular. They
But
cross.
like, how are they a hit? How do they
That's
cross
how
dimensions?
popular they are. They're popular.
Yeah, but what is-
enough
but
to
how?
cross
But like-
dimensions.
Stealing them from the human world, and Amity has
Right,
got
are
her
they-
hands on it.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes the most sense to me, is that Eda brought them over along with her junk, and Amity somehow read them. But so that means the author's human, so they wouldn't meet them in the Boiling Isles unless it was a twist, and it's like, oh, it's not human, it's a witch author.
It could be a witch who like fled to the human world. And she was just like, "Oh my gosh, I remember this amazing."
Yeah, it could be like we're talking about how Belos might have human to witch world.
Oh
Maybe
my god,
there's
what if
the
Bellows is
author's
the
the other one.
author? And
Oh, the Belos is the author.
Oh.
Oh man, that'd be and
he's like, these books don't pay me enough. I gotta just take over the whole world.
yeah, and it's an indictment on money artists make. Yeah, that's
Exactly. We got
That's what
artists
this-
making the show. Maybe that's it.
yeah. I
what
think
this
that's the
whole show is
message.
about.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I think Azura is another one of those things that doesn't really make sense, but we'll see if there's.
I feel
some
like
logic
we'll
applied
get the
to it.
payoff eventually, like at some
I
point.
would, yeah, I would love if we had a little Jackdania type twist, but yeah,
I
this is
I
this theory
really
we've
want
had
to see Amity's
pre-episode 1, and now it continues. I don't think there's any reason to doubt it yet. So, yeah, Amity's mom. That's another. It would be an interesting contender.
I love that idea.
Okay. We've hit on everything we had here. Michelle, what are your concluding thoughts on all of our speculation about season 2? What's standing out to you that we've talked about?
I agree with a lot of it. I'm very excited. I do feel like a rebellion's going to happen in some way, shape, or form, even if they haven't thought about it. I feel like there's a lot here for them to start thinking about it, and I really want the society to be dismantled. It would just be so exciting. One thing we didn't talk about that I'm kind of like feel a little I have mixed feelings on. I think it's interesting that Belos says like he can communicate with the Titan and that it like tells him things. And we even like we know he's lying because he says after Eda and Lilith and Luz escaped, like, oh, the Titan told me to let her go. It was like all part of my plan. It feels like such a like religion thing, right? Like you're supposed to have somebody who can communicate with God and is supposed to be the one who knows everything because God told them. And I just like I find that very interesting that that's a part of his character and
Well,
that they're
Why does no one question it? Like,
yeah, no one questions it. They just believe everything he says with no proof. And I just find that very fascinating.
Yeah, it's a good point to bring up of the potential like religious aspect, or just in general, just this connection of the Belos and the Titan and how he's pretending about that, and how's that? Oh, yeah,
Titans, they're God. Like from the evidence we are given, like
yeah,
the Titan
is that
didn't
what
give
we-
this to them. It died, and the radiation magic happened, and they ended up like it was totally circumstantial. It wasn't part of a
Maybe,
larger plan.
yeah.
And if it was all an accident, I kind of love that because then it's like, yeah, everyone's just like making meaning out of this for better or worse in Bella's case.
Yeah,
and
well,
it's just there's so much potential with that.
yeah, isn't that how it be though?
Yeah, that's how
Isn't
it be.
that
Yeah.
That's why I love
Yeah.
it.
That is how it be.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a good point to bring up as another aspect of this. April, how about you? What's standing out to you from what we talked about?
I love that there's like just so much possibility about like surrounding Belos and what that could mean. But I really love the idea of like Luz teaching Eda magic. I think that'll be really like exciting to watch, kind of like, and just watching like Eda get frustrated and and Eda getting frustrated, or not Eda, but Eda and Luz both being frustrated by the situation. So, but I'm also really excited to meet Amity's parents, especially if they're going to be sort of like prominent in this season. So just how they're going to mix into all of it.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I agree with that. I think we had some interesting possibilities for Amity's parents. So we'll see if
Her
they go
mom
down
is
any of
totally
these
going to
routes.
be Azura.
That is one of the
The
possibilities
author
that we talked about.
maybe also leaving the coven, maybe the spy, maybe the dad's the spy. So many options.
So many options. Yeah, and yeah, I'm excited by the potential of a rebellion. So I would love to go down that route. And just
Who
ramping
doesn't
up
love
the
a good rebellion?
yeah, who doesn't love a
Yeah.
good rebellion? Yeah, that is, as we all have said. So we're a lot of exciting things. I mean, we just very easily spent an hour and a half plus talking about all this. So there's a lot here coming out of Owl House season 1, and we're excited to see how it takes shape in the second season whenever it will be airing sometime this year. So let us know what you thought of all of our theories, all the theories we went over. What are you buying? What do you think we missed the mark on? Probably a lot. What theories do you have to add to our discussion? Leave a comment on YouTube if you're listening there, on our website at overlyanimated.com. You can leave an iTunes review. any of that feedback, or our Discord, overlyanimated.com/Discord. And if you liked this, consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially our patrons of the podcast, Reshipu, and thanks as always to our patron executive producers Ryan, Steve, Beatrice, Hugh, Michael, Needle, and Phonician. We'll be back in 2 weeks. As always, I will say our topic on tap in honor of Valentine's Day will be going over ship archetypes, best and worst ship archetypes, an interesting topic. So we made it one podcast without talking about shipping, kind of, with this podcast, and now we'll have to go back into it.
I think we did a really good job.
Yeah, a lot of restraint was had.
Yeah,
especially by me.
Especially by you.
Yes. I'm proud of you, honestly.
Oh, thank you. I'm proud of you guys too. I know we all love Lumity, so it's just but there's a lot. I think the show is mostly going to be it's interested in Lumity. I think it's over 50% other stuff for sure. So definitely was a lot to talk about here that the show is going to touch on at least some of these things. So excited for all that and excited for next week's podcast. We will see you guys then. Bye.
Bye.